Hello everybody, my name is Lebepe and I hope I am finding you well in the comfort of your homes or wherever you are watching from. You are watching Life After Death. This is my show and it is based on my book that I wrote, and the title of that book is Life After Death, just like this show. On this show we talk about money and we basically show you ways and means by which you can come out of debts, be financially free, and begin to build wealth. That is what this show is all about, and that is also what my book Life After Death is all about. If you want to get yourself a copy of Life After Death, you should just follow the announcement that will come at the end of this broadcast, and we will make sure to get that book straight to your doorstep and into your hands, and I can promise you that your life will never be the same again. On today's episode, I want to talk to you about how to come out of debt. Now, I've already done part 1 on YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel, which is @Lebepe. So if you are not yet subscribed, make sure that you log on and you subscribe on my YouTube channel @Lebepe to see this episode and more of the other episodes that are based on my book. So I've done part 1 of how to get out of debt. And if you have not watched part 1 on how to get out of debt, make sure that you go on my YouTube channel and watch that one. In that part 1 of how to get out of debt, I spoke about using a method called adjustments and cancellation. So for more details on what adjustments and cancellation is and how you can use adjustments and cancellation methods to come out of debt, watch that episode. But most importantly, get yourself a copy of my book, because in that book, I basically detail to a very large extent how that works and how you can apply that in your personal finance and get yourself out of debt. So today I'm doing part 2 on how to get out of debt. In part 1, remember I just said that we said you can come out of debt through a principle or a method called adjustments and cancellation. Now today on part 2, I want to focus on what is called delayed gratification. Now, delayed gratification is also one of the very powerful and also most effective way that people use to actually come out of debt. I explain what delayed gratification is in my book, but I'm going to try my best, to give a summary in this podcast. Now, the first thing that I say throughout my book, you will find this statement that is so recurrent. And it's a statement of fact, and it makes a lot of sense. And the statement I'm referring to throughout my book, I always say that you cannot come out of a hole if you keep digging the bottom. Now think about that. You can't come out of a hole or a pit if you keep digging the bottom of that very hole. So that's what happens when people struggle with getting out of debt. They struggle with getting out of debts most of the time because they don't apply delayed gratification. So delayed gratification basically means that, 1, you understand that your life, it's not the normal life that you know, because now you find yourself in debts. You have got these debts that you need to pay out and you need to pay off. So you simply admit and accept the fact that it's not going to be life as usual. And so when I say that you can't come out of a hole if you keep digging the bottom, what I simply mean is you cannot come out of debts if you keep making more debts. And that's exactly what you find in a lot of people who are under financial administration or debt review. You find that the person has convinced themselves that, I am in the process of paying off my debt. But while they are doing that, they keep incurring more debts. They keep taking up sales debts. Maybe they saw a sales on clothes that is going on, and then they take a credit on clothes. Or maybe they acquire a new credit card, or maybe they get a new credit facility. So in the process of them trying to come out of debt, they actually create more debts. And that's what I mean by saying you cannot come out of a hole if all you do is you keep on digging at the bottom. So if you're going to come out of debts, you have to put your spending habits on hold. You have to, say to yourself that I am putting myself under administration. I am at a place in my life where I'm trying to achieve financial freedom and to get out of debt. And for me to get to a place where I will be out of debt, I'm going to have to reach a compromised conclusion. And one of the compromised conclusion would be that your life will no longer be as usual as you know it to be. You're going to have to cut off on certain things. Maybe you are that person that, used to go out every weekend, maybe to restaurants, cinemas, drinking, hanging out with friends and partying. So you have to delay gratification. Those things that usually gratify you, you have to put those things on suspense. You have to put those things on hold. Why? Because you understand that you are under a debt payment probation. You are in a situation in your life where you're trying to get out of debt, and therefore you are going to cut off on lifestyle expenses that you used to incur, for gratification purposes. The other important thing that goes along with delayed gratification is once you are in debt and you have, made up your mind that you want to pay off your debts, when you apply delayed gratification, it means that you are going to also say to yourself that I'm only going to spend my money on what I need and no longer on what I just want. Now, there's a difference between needs and wants. I'll give you an example. A shoe is a need, especially if you don't have a lot of, you don't have multiple pairs of shoes. But if you are having 20 pairs of shoes, 10 pairs of shoes, 15 pairs of shoes, then a shoe for you, it's no longer a need, it's a want. Let me give another example of what differentiates a need from a want. The other thing is a shoe can be a need because without shoes you would walk barefooted. But if you're going to wear expensive brands like Louis Vuitton brands and Gucci brands and all of that, that is a want. It's no longer a need, right? You get the following. So when you are under debt review or you have made up your mind that you want to pay off your debt, the second thing that goes along with delayed gratification is the fact that you are going to only spend your money on what you need and not on what you want. Another example that can maybe make life a bit easier for you to understand these concepts on needs versus want. It's a car is a need. But once you buy 2 cars, 3 cars, I've seen people owning 3 cars, and you ask them, why do you need all of these 3 cars? And they will tell you, well, I use my sport car to go watch a sport game, and I use these executive cars for executive meetings. Once a person spends money that way, they have now moved away from spending money on needs and are now spending it on wants. Just like buying a car. A car may be a need if you don't have one. But an expensive sport car, the cars that runs into millions of rands or even $500,000 and all over that, that's no longer a need. It's now a want. So when you are in the process of paying off your debts, you have to apply delayed gratification. That means there are things that excite you, but unfortunately, these things takes out money. In other words, these things are liabilities. They take out money from you and they don't bring in money into your life. So you're going to make a decision that because I am in the process of paying off my debt, I'm going to apply delayed gratification. And in the process of applying delayed gratification, I will no longer spend money on what I want. I will only spend money on what I need, which is essential living expenses like food and transportation. And you are going to cut off on luxuries. You're going to cut off on entertainment. It will shock you the amount of money that people spend on alcohol on a weekend. Alcohol consumption, particularly in our country, South Africa, we are rated number 3 of the most drinking countries in the world. And alcohol, it's super expensive. If you go out with friends and you only drink, cool drink, for example, you will not take more than 2 cans of cool drink, but you can take more than 6 and sometimes 24 or 12 cans of alcohol, whether that is a cider or so forth. So alcohol actually, it's one of the money wasters and one of the wealth killers that actually drown people into a lot of debt. Maybe in the process of canceling and paying off your debt, you might want to consider stopping alcohol or stopping drinking and stopping partying, because all of these things takes away a lot of money from you. And just like I said, you will never come out of your own if all you do is you keep digging the bottom of that hole. You see, coming out of debts demands more than just paying your debt. It's also a lifestyle review because our lifestyle influences our spending habits, and our spending habits is what gets us into debt. So if you are really going to get out, the first point of debt review is to analyze your lifestyle expenses, particularly entertainment, particularly things like going out, partying, having multiple partners and multiple girlfriends, allowances. I mean, these are the things that you might have to delay in order for you to get yourself out. So reviewing your lifestyle expenses is very, very important, and spending your money only on needs rather than on wants is going to, make the process of you coming out of debt very quickly. Now, just to sum up what I've said, if you are going to come out of debt, number one, you're gonna have to stop making debts. You are not going to come out of debt if you keep making more debts. Number two, you will have to spend your money on what you need rather than on what you want. That means you have to cut out at luxuries or cut out on things that take out money, entertainment and all of this luxurious stuff, that don't really make financial sense rather than adding waste to our money. So making a lifestyle review is very important if you're going to come out of debt. Now, I mentioned in passing what I called wealth killers or killers of wealth. And if you buy my book, Life After Debt, you will find a chapter in which I'm talking about killers of wealth. And I've listed all the kind of money habits that are wealth killers. And that is going to bring a lot of financial education to you and make you make better financial decisions. Now, I want you to follow the next announcement and see how you can get hold of Life After Debt's book and change your financial life and start building wealth. Till next time.
We hope that you've been impacted by this broadcast. To order a copy of Life After Debt, send us a WhatsApp or SMS text message to 071 352 4581. You can also request a list of other books by Lebepe via the same contact. Be sure to subscribe to Lebepe YouTube channel for more episodes. Life After Debt, a guide to financial freedom.